Welcome everybody to Michael Good's Piano Masterclass. This is really going to be a conversation with Mike and talking about different aspects of being a professional musician and life in general, how he found his instrument and his voice. But really just want to introduce this guy. He's a really fantastic individual. He's had a really long and varied career in live music. Played with a number of great musicians through the years, and is currently residing in Southern Florida. But as you can see from his hat there, Paul's New Orleans home, I believe. So we'll let Mike talk a little bit. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Tim. Hi, guys. How you guys doing? Well, it's great for Tim to have me here, but believe me, it's because of the people that gave me a job that, you know, I'm no master class guy. I'm no master piano player. Just been able to keep a job, thank God, and working, you know, with guys like the Neville brothers and Aaron Neville and Charlie Neville and, you know, Cyril Neville, Art Neville, you know, those are all kings in the game and been in the game for a long time. Their kids are all great musicians. Ivan, Ian, you know, Omari. It goes deep, you know. So there's Khalifa, is you know, his talent. So that these guys are all great players, and you know, they were nice enough to show me a little bit about playing, you know, their music. New Orleans is a place that, you know, everybody goes one way, we go another way. But, you know, the different styles are all good. Harry Connick is a guy from New Orleans who learned from one of the greats. His name is James Booker. James Booker is one of the most incredible piano players ever. And, you know, I think Harry sat with James Booker. He sat with Dr. John McRebenack. He probably should have took a little time out to sit with Arthur Neville. Arthur Neville was another king. You know, his group, the Meters, were one of the most sampled groups in the business, and so it's been great. So. I definitely should get a chance to remember any of those names and research them. But definitely, New Orleans is a place that, you know, has a lot of incredible music from, you know, pop, classical. There were classical artists from I want to say the 1800s that were, you know, different flavors, different styles, Italian, African-American, Haitian, that all wrote, you know, classical music from back in those days in New Orleans.
Right. That's right. I was just watching a documentary that was talking about that, where the first jazz club there is in between, what's that square, Lafayette Square? And yeah, and all the big band stuff, right? And so you had the big band music going on one side of town, and all the slaves getting off the ships and drumming and doing all this stuff on the other side of town. And right in the middle is where jazz was born, right? Because you had all these rhythms from one side and all these sounds from the other side. And,
it's funny, you know, Cyril Neville used to always say that. I think him and Charles and Aaron and all the brothers, you know, when one spoke, usually you could learn a lot from each of them. So Cyril used to say stuff like, you know, well, you know, by New Orleans being a port city, radio or the ham radio things back in the day, you could get the Caribbean all the way to Cuba from New Orleans. And so a lot of New Orleans beats, you know, that little beat is actually a Caribbean Latin beat. I want to say it's a little bit of, and I don't want to mispronounce the rhythmic application to it, but you can probably go to a drum teacher and he can help you better. But so the piano guys, Art Neville is famous for a lot of things, especially the meters, and the group NWA sampled a lot of the meters, and they got rich off it. I hope they cut checks for Art and Zigaboo and George and
that was right around the time when they weren't cutting checks for that kind of thing, right? And
yeah, it was huge. It was huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Mike, I think your camera got shut off somehow. Can you see if you can turn that on down that little camera down in the corner there? We can continue on. Oh, there he is. There he is. All right.
All right.
Tried to sneak away from us, huh?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, you've had a long and interesting career with a varied artist, as you said. And obviously, one of the highlights has got to be the Neville Brothers. What other kind of things stand out in your memory from projects that you've worked on over the years?
From working with the brothers, or someone different?
Yeah, how about somebody else? Who else stands out?
Guys that would be older that young folks wouldn't know, but it was interesting working for different guys. Alan Toussaint, King Floyd, a guy named Frogman Henry who actually they said he sounded like a frog, but he actually was a fairly decent singer, and just it was a lot of fun learning, and to also learn the New Orleans version of funk music back in the day. So it was great. The Meters, the Neville Brothers had, they took things, and they had songs like Big Chief that they made into their own version. And sometimes you got to look it up, but I'll play a. So you should Google that. That's by a guy named Professor Longhair.
Yeah.
Who was another. He had several songs, but any piano player, Harry, and all the different guys. Henry Butler was a monster piano player from New Orleans.
Yeah, there were a few.
Huh?
There were a few, no question.
Oh, there were quite a few. Yeah. So Ellis Marcellus, which is the Marcellus family fame matriarch, who was just a monster. And I went to him for a lesson. He wanted to teach me, but I didn't have a piano. He said, "How you gonna?" He says, "I want you to come." I said, "But you got to find a piano. You got to, So I'm like, "How am I gonna buy a piano? I'm in like high school." But anyway, it was great knowing everybody and learning the things that New Orleans could offer you. And
so you were in high school when you were first exposed to the piano?
Actually, I was younger than that. My brother was a trumpet player that played in Art Neville's band, actually. And he threatened me to learn a song. Now, this is the funny song.
Stones. All right.
So I learned that. I was like, it was so easy to hear. I said, okay, I can get that. And he threatened. He said he was going to take my mom to the store, and I better know that song when he came back. So
You learned it by ear.
That was oh man.
Just hammered it out one note at a time, type of thing.
No, I was able to just somehow come up with it and play it in a way that he understood. He started laughing. I said, "Yeah, I got it. Where's my money?" No.
Learned young.
Started young, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Is piano your only instrument?
Piano mainly. It wasn't my instrument. I wind up playing piano by default. I played football, then I got hurt playing football, but I was playing like saxophone in the band, and before I went to play football, and I left the saxophone to play ball, and got hurt playing ball, and went back to saxophone, which diverted to piano.
Wow. All right. And how did you finally get that first piano?
My parents had pianos all over the house. But the only portable piano I ever got was from Art Neville. He gave me his Forfista.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
that's quite an instrument to start out on for sure.
Yeah, and so I started gigging with the first fold up Forfista organ, which was great. It's all different colors. It was white, and so I thought I was. I died and went to heaven and got a Forfista. I was like, wow. So yeah, Art Neville hooked me up, and so it was only right that my brother threatened me. He says, when you go play music, you better not play with any other band but the Neville brothers. And I went to New York, and I wound up playing sessions for everybody, from Will Smith to Puffy and all of that. And I got to Florida by another situation through Paris. I did a tour of France and Italy with Alan Toussaint, and the bass player was going to go to Florida after we finished the tour. And it was my first professional job was with Alan Toussaint. And so when I got back, it was crazy. He says, "Come on, man, you got to go to Florida." Went to Florida and wound up moving to Florida because the water was like teal. I was like, wow, what's that? I had never seen anything but mud in New Orleans. So when I saw the Gulf that looked that way, I just stayed. And
how long have you been there?
I've been here since '89.
Wow.
And then the Neville brothers came through. And one of my friends, a guy named Mark Middlebrook, he wanted to go to the show, and I'm like, man, I'm not going. He said, don't you know those guys? I said, well, how do you know if I know them or not? He said, you from New Orleans, you got to know them. So sure enough, I went, and I asked Art to get his tickets, and he got his tickets, and they offered me the job that night, which was great. Through friends that I know, Earl Smith, and he told Aaron about me, and so and then that history.
That's the truth.
So let's see. I'm trying to think if there's any other anything you want me to play. I'm trying to remember now. You know how you draw a blank. You're like, what?
Oh, that's how it works when you get on camera. Absolutely. Well, talk about your own style and technique. I mean, you're relatively self-taught, right?
After listening to guys like Art, because he had a so yeah. he would play with
Such a
everybody.
unique style. Yeah, like soul and
Yeah,
funk and everything just blended together, you know?
That was him, and they had, you know, so many hip songs. I mean, that's art all day long. You know, meters, and they had so many hits from Look a Pie Pie to you know, Fire on the Bio, all kind of great songs that, you know, they had the meters, and then they had Neville Sound, I think, and then they put the Neville Brothers together, and while they had the Neville Brothers, Aaron met so many people because they were managed by Bill Graham, and Bill Graham at the time managed the Stones, the Who. He managed everyone. He managed the Neville Brothers. So, So it was a great scenario, and then Aaron, I think through that situation, met Linda Ronstadt, and they, you know, recorded, won Grammys, and that was a great situation for those guys as well.
Absolutely.
So the reason why I talk about everybody else, because I'm telling you, it's never me. I'm not the master piano guy, but I've had a great learning experience, learning from Charles, Cyril, Art, Aaron, you know, and even the kids, like I said, you know, Ivan, and so it's been a great
that's life
experience.
as a musician, though, right? I mean, you surround yourself with good people, and good things happen. I mean, that's life in general. I'll forget about a musician, right?
Yeah, no doubt. So yeah, and let me pay homage to. That was the chick, you know, who's one of the most incredible monsters ever.
Yeah.
Passed away, man. So,
he sure did.
You know, that was Armando. I didn't know, you know, Armando's rumba. That's just my terrible version of it. But that chick wrote that song. Chick wrote it. It was a great song. Great song.
Yeah. He was an amazing musician. With that said, what types of attributes do you value in musicians that you play with?
Oh, well, you know, all the guys, unfortunately, like when you meet people, they're all incredible in a way that, you know, you just have to learn what everybody's stick is, so to speak. And, you know, some went to Berkeley, some went to Juilliard. And, you know, I went to a couple of schools. I went to the school of Toussaint, the school of Art Neville first, and then the school of Neville Brothers later, and then the school of Aaron Neville later. So, you know, it's amazing that, but listening to people like Chick, you know, and of course George Duke, and they get to explain some of the other guys, Bill Evans, and some of the other people who are also giants, Oscar, Art Tatum, all these guys. So it's just amazing that that you're able to you know, try to learn some things from all these guys, which is great.
Absolutely. We've got some audio students on with us. From your musician's perspective, can you talk about the importance of a monitor mix in a large band setting such as the Neville Brothers?
My God!
Right.
Well, when you get
how many folks are on stage with those guys? 10?
When you get to a festival, that some of the festivals that I've been lucky enough to play with the brothers, you know, and it exceeds 200,000 or 300,000 people, the monitor mix is a lifesaver because there's nothing humanly possible that will save your life but a great monitor, someone who actually knows what they're doing. And the stage becomes, the business at hand. So they have to know what they're doing so that they can deliver it to each separate monitor mix. Each person, each individual has its own separation. So it's great to have technology of someone who understands live sound and monitor mixes as well as front of house. Because the singers, their mixes has got to be different than the musicians. I'm going to look for my instrument in the mix and the vocals to guide me so that I'll know where I'm going. And it takes a great monitor, engineer or somebody technically savvy to be able to deliver that.
And they almost have to become a member of the band in a way, right? Because they have to be able to anticipate,
Actually, Aaron wrote a song called "Give the Roadie Some."
Oh yeah.
And it's about how technically they're a part of the band.
Yeah.
And so that that was one of his fan tributes to the fact that because if you got 200,000 or 300,000 people out there, it's you guys as a unit on stage trying to deliver the situation to them so that they can have a great time. So
we all know there's going to be stumbling blocks and flub-ups and gear that goes down and this and that and the other thing.
Yeah.
So it's about reacting in the moment and being present, and, maintaining contact with each other.
Some concerts you don't get to have necessarily a sound check, so you got to jump in cold sometimes. But the bigger you get, the more they make sure that you have time that you can do certain things. But those guys are great. Got to have them. And by the way, Mr. Michaelovich is one of the best in the country. Believe me.
Oh,
he's at the top of the hill.
You are too fun. What kind of qualities do you think define a successful musician?
Actually, when I first started doing this, I learned strictly by ear, but now I'm having to study a little bit more because, unfortunately, it doesn't stop. Once you get to a certain point, you want more because there's so much more information out there to take you to another level. But you actually have to spend time to get there. So the one thing the pandemic did for me was basically had me in here sitting with books. I got books everywhere. And I never do any of these things because I don't have time. I'm trying to still figure out how to play the piano. And if it wasn't for the fact that, Tim was such a great guy and he came to, be a working compadre. I know him I know him on, and we've been in the soup many times on stage looking at each other like, and, my boss was like, "Who's that guy?" He's like, "Yeah, well, we don't bring him back." So when Aaron talks like that, because Aaron's tough, so it's a great thing.
He knows what he likes, no question about that. It's definitely a quality for a successful musician, I think. Roundabout way of getting there, but absolutely, I think that knowing what you need, and knowing how to communicate that to your tech support
Absolutely.
and the other musicians on stage, right? Like I remember a couple of times, anyways, where you two in a duo situation, it's just the two of you, right? Where you're talking back and forth and adjusting things as necessary, and just communication is key.
Well, thanks, because you didn't flinch when we took the band out. You was like, "Oh yeah, no problem, got this, no sweat."
Where do you draw your creativity from?
Well, it's interesting because, like I said, it started off with Art Neville, and then, of course, Stevie, Chick, and now, it's getting to be learning how to elaborate on things that people like Bill Evans and Oscar and Train, Charlie Parker, those, learning how to understand where they were coming. They were giants in making music and writing jazz at the time. So it's interesting, and I'm in the middle of studying stuff by Zawanu and cats like that. So I appreciate the learning and the creativity that the New Orleans thing brings, as well as the New Orleans jazz from the tuba bands and things like that. Because originally, those were the guys that were playing, all the old school, jazz marches and jazz. It was just great to hear the original instrumentation, and then they switched later on to electronic instrumentation. But the tuba bands from New Orleans, they're the original guys.
Do you prefer live work or studio work? A fair amount of both.
See, that's a trick question.
Yeah, it sure is.
Because after I was recruited to New York to do studio work, that's like, it's like going to work with a shirt and tie on and having a secretary. Live work is completely the opposite, but it's a lot more fun, and interactions with crowds and people is a beautiful thing. But going in and using precise ideas for movies or records or that those are the great days. So I spent a lot of time in New York learning to do that, playing on a lot of records from Nas the rapper to Will Smith. So it's been really, really, really cool having to get that gig and to use it in that manner. Very cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, live work has a certain kind of Zen aspect to it, right? Where you create this beautiful thing and then it just all goes away at the end, right? And studio work is 100% the opposite.
Live work is sort of like prime time. It's like sports. It's like NFL guys playing in the stadium. When you get out there, remember you're on an island by yourself, so you won't get somebody to come and save you. You got to stand up on your own too, and you got to make it work along with the other team members. So it's a job that a lot of people think it's an easy job until you sit in that chair, and when the light comes on you and says, "Oh, number 5," and you don't know, it's probably not a good idea. You might not get that shot again.
That's the truth. It looks like we lost your camera again, Mike. I'm going to try to put that back on.
Okay.
Here we have a question from a viewer. Can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah. All
right. Do your piano skills translate over to any other instruments? Great question.
Well, it's very interesting. It yes and no. In other words, I don't think I play well enough, but I have several instruments that I kind of toy around with, but I don't ever claim it because, you know, once you claim them, you got to walk outside with it, and you got to make sure you stand with it and play with it.
Yeah, with the cats that you hang around with, I'd be a little shy about that myself.
so you know, I definitely want to be careful how but yes, you know, creativity is one of the things that you have. It's an educational drug because you want more. If you do, you're gonna want to do that fast or know it 30 different ways so you can do it. So creativity also transfers to other instruments that you're going to want to be able to play that instrument like you play, you know, the piano. And I'm still fighting the piano. So for me to claim another instrument wouldn't be fair. You know.
That's fair. What do you think are some of the key characteristics of like the New Orleans sound, you know, particularly in regards to piano?
Well, there's but anyway, that stride, you know, and you hear guys like Mac Rabenak, Dr. John, or I have a friend, Ricky Monet, who plays with, used to play with the, anyway, but he's another great stride player, and I mean, it transforms sometimes in the different styles. There's so many. There's the live parade stuff, and there's the country thing. There's so many different. Not a good example, but there's you know, just having country at, you know, being able to play it is also a great challenge. So New Orleans is a place that has all these different things, and you know, you get thrown in the soup, and you have to figure out how to stir the spoon. So
You got that right. You got that right. And another question from a viewer here: how has the pandemic affected your creativity and practice regimens?
Well, it's very funny. You know, I had a dear friend who absolutely made it available for me to stay away from the crowd, and so I'm able to be home and practice. So I was able to stay away from that, and I want to pay homage to a guy, A.J. Mullins, who before the pandemic, I played a show with him in this particular restaurant, and then I went to St. Louis and did a concert. And when I got back, I was back maybe 2 weeks, and he passed away from COVID.
Yeah.
And it was interesting that, you know, doing a gig, it made it pretty real that you just can't assume that it's going to be safe. You have to take the first line of defense, just so that you can not be in the middle of that whole crowded scenario where you really don't know what's happening. So it affected me. I basically, sometimes I get up at 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning to practice. And I've been blessed by that. Kristen Williams, who was actually managing me at the time, who made it possible for me to be able to stay safe from that. So I was blessed.
Absolutely. And that gig a year ago in St. Louis, it was a year ago yesterday, right? And that was the
St. Louis, yeah.
Opening music we were listening to at the top of the show. We'll put it back down at the end, but what a fantastic gig that was. Indeed, a year ago. Was that the last gig that you played?
Yeah, St. Louis. I think it was the St. Louis Opera House.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Yeah, and I think it was the first. We've been to St. Louis like 30 times.
Yeah.
Played the Shelton. We played the park, a big festival 3 or 4 times. The last time we played it, we were on one side, and Wynton Marsalis was on the other side.
Wow.
We closed the park out, and then we went to Canada for like a month. But it was a lot of fun. So yeah, that's why I'm glad we got a chance to play the Opera House. It was very beautiful.
At Symphony Hall, I think is what it was called.
Symphony Hall is what they call it.
Yeah, gorgeous venue. And a great crew. They have a standout crew there for sure.
Yeah.
Who is your personal favorite pianist and why?
There could never be just one.
Fair.
You can't. There's no way. It's not. I mean, from New Orleans, I have several. Art Neville's first.
Yeah.
And then I had Alan Toussaint, who was one of the famous guys who everybody knows him from the Lady Marmalade music to other stuff. But Alan Toussaint, and then and then not to mention Art and Aaron, and Charles is a great teacher. I know what Montuno's was, and he taught me that. So I mean, it's just different things. And then, of course, then you have Chick, and then you have Bill Evans, and there's so many. And then the youngest guy that I think you should definitely bring to school or do a Zoom is Corey Henry. He's a monster. I love that guy. He's a monster. He's a great player. So you should check him out. But yeah, I have several people that I like a lot. Yeah,
Corey's on my list for sure. He is the man about town right now, isn't he?
Oh, big time. He's killing it right now. Killing it. I'm talking about all over the world. He's killing it.
Yeah. Snarky Puppy is, and then his Funk Apostles. Both those groups are just.
Well, it's funny. He kind of outgrew it. He started it with them, and then he kind of outgrew it. He just blew up like it was just crazy. But he also he's spending a lot of time practicing and playing, and he's doing some great stuff.
What was it like working on the hip hop albums that you worked on? And it's a little bit out of your normal ballpark.
Oh, no. Well, what happened is I got recruited to New York from Florida, and they flew me up and put me in the studio and let me dabble a little bit. And then I wrote 3 songs that became singles for a particular project for a particular label. And then they paid me for it, and they kept me in New York. And then a group came out of the record that I did. The artist that we produced at the time was a young guy from Baltimore, and that was the guy that was recruiting everybody. His name was Troy Patterson. He brought me to New York, New Jersey, and I worked for him for a while. And then a group called Drew Hill came from that group, and then they blew up, and so it just started. I started working for Public Enemy after that, and then did Nas, the rapper, and then I started working for a guy named he was part of the Bad Boy crew, Puffy's guy.
Oh yeah.
So I did that. Felicia Newsom got me hooked up in that scenario, and so it was great. New York is always it's cutting edge for everything, and I always have fun there.
One thing that has been a recurring theme through all of these questions, I think, is personal connections, right? Kind of what makes the music industry go around. In terms of advice for younger musicians, younger technicians, how do you build and maintain those relationships? Because they are what keep the music industry going. There's no question about that.
It is. It's who you know sometimes, really. But all you got to do is get everything you can from school. Get it, know it, remember it, recognize it, be good at it, because it will come up in different forms of that education. Will always take you somewhere different. In other words, you will always have to use create your own creativity and add it to what you've learned to make it work, and you'll find fun in that, especially when you're writing music from scratch or you're rerouting certain things, you'll know, and it'll be great.
Sure. Having those base skills down cold, though, which I hear practice, right? And regardless of your medium, whether it's piano or audio engineering or
that's correct.
Trumpet, right? You gotta have those basics down, and then you can allow the creativity to really go from there as a starting point.
That's the whole key. Any of these things, even something like this, if you don't see me playing, it's because I didn't start practicing a month ago. Because to me, I'd like to be perfect at it, and sometimes, the only way to be comfortable is to prepare for it in that manner. So you have to spend the time and make it work, because any of those live performances, I practice 30 days out, just so that I could be the 900-pound gorilla in the room. Otherwise, it's not going to work out.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And also, I think authenticity, right? Being yourself, presenting.
Oh yeah, that's the only way.
That's it. It's impossible to build relationships without being an authentic person.
Well, and that's actually a great analysis, because you really, if you live in New York, or if you live in Jersey or wherever, you have to literally put boots on the ground so you could understand exactly what's going on. You gotta tell the truth in every way. Otherwise, it's not going to work out.
Especially when you're with a group like a group of musicians or a crew, or because your lives are dependent on each other in some way, right? Like, I mean, maybe not your actual life, but sometimes it is your actual life. But when you're up there on stage in front of whether it's 300 people or 30,000 people, your life is dependent on all those folks around you, right? And being
that's the only way. And actually, it's fun. Be yourself. It's it's like still in school. Kid each other, joke each other, no problem. And, you know, do your thing. Let them do their thing, and, you know, it's a good thing. You know, it's great to be able to be aggressive and knowing where it is that you need to be.
Got another question from a viewer here, and I already know the answer, but I'll let you answer it. Do you ever get nervous about performances? And if so, how do you handle that?
Heck yeah. And
maybe just a little.
You know, and you know, it hit me a few times doing let me see, some of the worst ones was like famous, you know, doing famous shows. So we were going to do this thing with Elton John, and it was somewhere around, I don't know, it was over another one, over 200,000 people. And I'm looking at the seat, and I'm like, come on, man. And you know, you gotta tighten your boots up, go out there and try to kick some dirt. You know what I mean when I say that?
Yes, sir.
So you know, and
do you have any
Aaron,
particular? Go ahead.
Aaron used to have a saying, we do this, let's go.
Yep. Yep, exactly. Do you have any particular, you know, habits or ways that you deal with that kind of anxiety?
Not necessarily. I mean, you have to find your own. You have to find what works for you. Some people pray. I've done that before. I've done all kinds of different things, but mainly being yourself and going out there and getting it. That's the only way to make it happen.
Yep, and a lot of that comes back to that original adage: practice, practice, practice. Right? As long as you got those basics down cold, then you can kind of let the anxiety live there.
Yeah, as long as. Yeah, and Tim could tell you, I don't travel without something in my room to practice.
Mm-hmm.
I have to have something to practice. So, and most people who do this for a living, you know, either they get stage or dressing room privileges with instruments so that they can also practice when it's time.
That is the truth. Let's see. That is all of the questions from the audience. I think I'm pretty much through my list too. You have any other pearls of wisdom for us, Mike?
Well, you know what? You're at Vermont. Stay there. Do your thing. Learn everything you can, and add a couple of things on top of that as well. And go slay the dragon. You're not far from New York or Boston. You know, both of those got great situations and great opportunities. And you know I keep forgetting about the dang pandemic because I barely go outside. I go to the market. I go to Whole Foods. Well, they call it a whole paycheck nowadays. And I try to practice. So I'm just trying to, you know, take that up a bunch of notches and learn some more stuff. But you know, just stick with it. Don't quit. Don't give up.
And as you heard from his life story, build those relationships because those are what's going to carry you through and keep on giving, right? I mean, you can be a piano player, and if you're a jerk, nobody's going to hire you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, but New Orleans is a place, you know, that's still giving. You know, of course, you know, you have to make sure you're be streetwise because it's dangerous. But you know, it's a great place to learn certain things about music, and you know, but just you know, don't go to sleep. You know, keep your eyes open.
Yes. Hey, I got one last question to finish us off with. What's your favorite venue in New Orleans?
Wow. How about I just name a few?
Yeah, sure.
Now, if you're gonna go see something, then New Orleans is rich in situations. There's a place that but Google places that have stuff. But Howling Wolf, and the Maple Leaf is another little hideout, and
our buddy George Porter there every Tuesday night.
That's right. That's right. So
players in the business,
and be careful of the food. Be careful of the food. It's like a drug. You'll stay there.
That's the truth. I can't stop going myself. I'm going to add to that list. Tipitina's is one of my favorite rooms there. I love that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So much history.
I can't wait. Hopefully, I haven't heard if the festival. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to go to the festival and then.
Yeah, sounds like maybe next
show
spring.
you around a little bit.
Yes, sir. I look forward to that. Well, Mike, thanks for your time. If there's no other questions,
I really appreciate everything, man, and God bless all the students and the people that are watching. And again, I really appreciate it.
Why don't you play us out? Play us a little number here for a couple minutes, and we'll listen to you tinkle. So to speak.
All right.